Hey guys, welcome back to Supposedly Fun. I'm Greg. Today I thought it would be fun to talk about a couple of memoirs and autobiographies. And fun fact for you, until today I did not know the difference between the two, but I looked it up before I sat down to do this, and it turns out a memoir is about a very specific event, and an autobiography is about a person's whole life. Now, bear with me, because I'm going to be talking about both, and I'm going to get confused. I'm going to use the wrong word, so please bear with me and go with that. Memoirs and autobiographies are things that I traditionally don't read a lot of because I feel like a lot of the ones that are out there feel kind of superficial, and they usually throw in something that is meant to seem controversial or to make you want to read the book because it seems like it's going to be juicy, and then it turns out it just feels like a publicist had a very heavy hand in framing everything that goes in the book. So you get to know details about a person, but not really. And anything that could potentially be controversial is kind of whitewashed to the point of oblivion. And the book I kind of use as an example for this is Valerie Harper's I, Rhoda. Now, The Mary Tyler Moore Show is my all-time favorite TV show. I love it to death. It's wonderful. And I love Rhoda so much. She's a great character, so which means I will always love Valerie Harper. So I saw this book in a bookstore in New York City that does not exist anymore. It's a shame because they always had really good queer literature. But anyway, I saw this in a store and I immediately picked it up because I love Mary Tyler Moore, I love Rhoda, I love everything. I frequently tell people that I am Rhoda, but I want to be Mary Tyler Moore, and that is my eternal struggle in life. But anyway, the experience of reading it had that feeling where even when the linchpin of the book is that she talks about being fired from her TV show Valerie in the 80s. And it felt very filtered through a publicist. And it felt very like almost defensive, where she was like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And it's like, I don't know the situation, but it feels like a little bit of deflecting. And that kind of is why I don't do a lot of memoirs and autobiographies, because I feel like you can't really trust them. So there are ones that I like, and I talked about this one very briefly when I talked about Michelle Obama's book, but this is In Pieces by Sally Field. Now, I read this because I adore Sally Field. I just love her. I have always said that if somebody ever makes a movie of my life, I need Sally Field to play my mother, because she can be really sweet, she can be really adorable and loving, and she can also play crazy. So, you know, she's a great actress. I was very happy to pick up this book and read it. And what I really enjoyed about it, because I wasn't sure given my reticence about memoirs, what I really enjoyed about it was that it feels so honest. It feels like Sally Field is using this as kind of like an extended therapy session. She is going back, she's looking at letters that she never opened, she's looking at contracts and pieces of paper and things for artifacts from her childhood that she hasn't looked at in years because she's kind of bottled all of that up. And it's really fascinating because there were terrible things that happened to her. She talks about being molested by her stepfather. She talks about the strained relationship she had with her father. And it feels honest because part of what she's doing is she's searching for her own role in this. And at one point her father sent her a letter because in an interview that she gave, she mentioned that she was estranged from her father. And her father was like, you know, I read these and that hurts me. And she's reconciling all of that now, which makes this a really fascinating book. So I recommend this book, Sally Field's In Pieces. Another book that I really enjoy, I have recommended it in another video about Snow Day Reads because it's very funny. It's Tina Fey's Bossy Pants. So this one would be an autobiography because it covers her whole life. I really enjoy it. It's very funny. You cannot go wrong with this book. But it does kind of feel like it's guarded. It doesn't actually want you to get that close to her. So she'll tell some funny stories about watching The Love Boat in what she thought was a fancy nightgown with cream soda in a champagne glass. That she talks about how she got the scar on her cheek, but that's about as deep as it gets. Still, it manages to be like a wildly entertaining read. It's very funny. I do recommend it. But it does kind of embody that sense of what I don't like about memoirs and autobiographies, where it feels like it's only skimming the surface and it doesn't actually want you to get a lot of detail. So there's that. Another author who used memoir and autobiography for a kind of therapy, and I really like the result, is Alison Bechdel, when she wrote Fun Home. I've already talked about this book in my favorite books of all time video, which I will put up here. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. But what I really love about this is that she's searching. She's trying to reconcile her relationship with her father and how she grew up and how he grew up. And it is just beautiful. Absolutely recommend this. The musical adaptation of this that was on Broadway is also fantastic. So I saw a touring version of it when it came to my town. If you have an opportunity to do the same, I highly recommend it. And I'll definitely recommend the book as well. So my excitement for this book and how much I love this book made it really disappointing that I did not like the follow-up, Are You My Mother? So Fun Home deals with her relationship with her father, and Are You My Mother, as you can tell from the title, it's supposed to be about her mother and her relationship with her mother. But it comes out very differently. And I think a big part of that is that Alison Bechdel's mother was still alive when she wrote this. And Alison Bechdel's mother had a very complicated relationship to the idea that Alison Bechdel had wrote about their family in Fun Home. She did not like it. So you can tell that Bechdel is not really digging into the subject matter the way that she might have otherwise. Her mother, this book is ostensibly about her mother, and her mother is a peripheral character, just kind of lurking in the shadows. And it's disappointing that you feel like you don't get to know her very well. And the other thing is that this book very much deals with Alison Bechdel sitting in therapy, reading books about children with stunted development, and relating that to you, the reader. And it feels like there's just a masturbatory level of analysis and self-analysis in this book, to the point where, you know, when you look in the mirror and you stare at your face so long that you don't even see your face anymore, it just becomes an assemblage of shapes, everything's blurred. It feels like that's what she's doing to her life in this book, where she comes to some really astonishing and profound conclusions in this one. It feels like we're not getting anywhere in this one, to the point where she considers that she has a breakthrough because she has a dream. And there's a lot of dream analysis in this book, and I'm not against dream analysis, but it can be very vague and abstract. And you can kind of, I do think there's a lot of room for people to read in the results that they want to dream analysis. This example, so she goes into therapy and she's ecstatic. She thinks she's had a breakthrough because she's sitting with her therapist and she says, I had a dream, I had a torn pair of pants and you fixed them. You're fixing me. And it must be working because tear is spelled like tear, and you're fixing my tears. And this is treated like the most landmark event in her therapeutic life. But it's really vague. It's, you know, it just seems like she's giving up actual self-reflection and analysis for vague things that aren't really going to get her anywhere. Another time, she talks about how her mother was unable to breastfeed her, and this is the key to everything. It's symbolic of the fact that they've never had a satisfactory relationship because she was never able to get nourishment from her mother. Well, I was not breastfed. My sisters were not breastfed. We're all doing just fine. So it feels like she's looking for answers where she shouldn't be. At another point, she mentions in an offhand manner that she and her mother went for years without touching each other when she was a child. So I just remember reading this thinking, well, what about that? That seems big. What's the story behind that? But she's focusing on the dream and the fact that she wasn't breastfed. So I can't get behind this book. I love Fun Home. To the day I die, I will love Fun Home. But I can't get behind this one. Another one I already talked about a little bit is Stitches by David Small. I mentioned this one, I don't remember in what video I mentioned it in, but I'll put it up there once I do remember. It's a great book. It's about, he had surgery when as a child. He thought it was going to be minor, and it turns out he wakes up, his throat has been slashed open, he can't talk, and his parents had lied to him. He had cancer and almost died, and they had needed to remove a tumor, and it's about his strained relationship with his parents, and it's kind of harrowing, but it is a beautiful story. I'll talk more about the book that I'm reading right now, but it is an autobiography. It is Mary Berry's recipe for life. A lot of people laughed when I said that I was buying this book. None of you, and not too many people on Instagram either, but like friends and family, because they were a little like, "Oh, you're going in hard on Mary Berry," and that is probably the wrong way to phrase that. But anyway, I don't care. I love Mary Berry, and this book I love listening to her talk. I think she's really charming, and this book it is all of that and more. I'm about halfway through. I'm on page 240 of 413, so I will be talking more about this one, but so far it is really good. I have not gotten to the key part in this where she talks about the death of her son, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then there are some books from my TBR. I really want to read The Liars Club by Mary Carr. I have an ebook of this. If I can get over the fact that I just really can't get into ebooks right now, I would love to get to this. Another one is The Memoirs of a Beautiful Boy. This is by Robert Lelou. It's about he had a really flamboyant mother who was trying to get a rich husband. It is a queer memoir. And then there is Mississippi Sissy, which is about a coming-of-age story of Kevin Sessoms growing up in the South and being gay. I would really like to read these. I think by June I want to really up my focus on queer authors. So I definitely want to get to these two. And a book that was on sale at Barnes & Noble recently, so I had to get it, was Heavy by Kiese Lehman. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It was 50% off, and I've heard so many great things about it that I felt like I had to grab it. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. If you have any memoirs or autobiographies you would recommend, please let me know. If you agree that a lot of them are kind of superficial and not actually that enlightening, let me know. We can talk about that as well. And if you are also a giant fan of Mary Berry, let's talk about that. I would love to talk to somebody about Mary Berry. And that is all for today. I will be back again. Until then, happy reading. And thank you again for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing or watching some more videos or dropping me a comment. Thanks.